your host, Jared Perkins. But we have an incredible guest here today, Eric Yardley, right-handed pitcher with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eric, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on and letting me tell a story a little bit.
Yeah. So, just for the viewers, the first question I always kick off with, just for the viewers who don't know you, just give a little bit of background on kind of how you got to where you are now in professional baseball, and kind of what your journey's been like.
So I was born and raised in Richland, Washington, which is down in the southeastern side of the state. Went to Seattle University, and then out of college went and played in the Pecos League for, I think, 4 weeks. And then that's a low independent ball league. And then right after the draft, guys kind of signed and then figure out who they have and who decides to go to college. There's a few spots opened up, and Padres scout who had seen me in college called and said there was an opportunity. Obviously jumped on it. Got to Phoenix and played in rookie ball. Basically as my tryout, it seemed like, and then 6.5 years later, in 2019, debuted with the Padres, and then since then it kind of bounced around. Went with the Brewers in 2020, and then parts of 2021 in the big leagues with them and AAA, and then spring training with the Cubs, now then the Blue Jays, and now with the Diamondbacks. So we're kind of starting that process that just kind of jumping around and hoping we find something that sticks.
Yeah. It's kind of incredible. I just kind of your journey is a lot different than most guys, right? They go through the draft all of a sudden, then they're picked and they go into the professional baseball. Kind of talk about your experience with having to go to the Pecos League and playing independent ball and grinding through, and kind of what kept you motivated to kind of still try to reach that journey of playing professional baseball.
Yeah, so the Pecos League thing kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't really know what it was. I feel like because I mean, obviously we all dream about playing in the big leagues, but we don't realize what it actually takes to get from one level to the next, and then how many levels there are. And so when I started throwing well in college and some scouts were calling, I thought the draft was June 8th or whatever it was. And then after that, if that didn't work out, then, well, tough luck. Good luck getting your job wherever else. And so I was completely planning on getting my master's in teaching and then moving on with my life. And it was going to be what it was. And then my pitching coach had told me about undrafted free agents, and I still didn't quite understand that. A couple teams called right after the draft, and I was like I said, I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, if there's an opportunity, I'll go play, but I still don't really know what you're talking about. So this team in Las Vegas, New Mexico, not Las Vegas, Nevada, unfortunately, called and said they had a spot for me if I wanted to come down. And I just happened to be lucky enough that my family was like, hey, you know what? Like, if it's something you want to do, you want to go play professional baseball, then we're here for it. Like, go ahead. And I was like, okay, like, I've heard from a couple sources who I really trust that it's a good opportunity, it's a chance. And so I was like, packed up my Honda Civic and drove down to New Mexico from Washington State, and got there and found out kind of the hard way what independent ball actually was, and especially low level independent ball. This wasn't, there's some good independent leagues right now. Some MLB feeder leagues and whatnot going on. Like, you can play some really good baseball with a lot of good talent, and this league was, I mean, there's a lot of good dudes, but I would say it was kind of equivalent to like a college summer ball setup. We were playing at high school fields. We had to drive about 30 minutes from our house, where we had, I think, 15 guys in the house. That might be an exaggeration. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I was lucky I threw an air mattress in the trunk. And so, we did that, and it was share a hat, grab a t-shirt, jersey out of the box when you get to the field, and go play baseball, pitch your inning, do whatever you can. And it was an unbelievable learning experience that it was a tough league, but I'm incredibly grateful for it, because it showed me what guys are willing to do to continue playing. Like, there were guys who were repeating this league. There were guys who this was their only chance to play professionally, which is what I thought I was at the time too. And it's a ever growing league. Like it continues to get wider. More states are involved, more guys are involved. There's never a shortage of players. And so as not great of a time as it might have been, it kept me available and ready for when the Padres did call and they're like, hey man, we got a shot for you. If you can just get to Arizona tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I mean, I'm in shape. Because if they would have called and I was 4 weeks on the couch, I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play for the Padres. And then it might not have gone well. You never know. But it's a learning experience. It's a chance to pitch. It was a chance to get seen, I guess, and you just get a greater appreciation for each level and what could be and knowing where guys are at attempting to play professional baseball, and we might complain about like a tough bus ride. And it's like, well, there are guys who would pay to be on this bus ride. So it's just kind of a different vibe, different scene. And like, it definitely showed me why I liked this game and why I like competing and kind of what got me to this point. And then now obviously we've gotten to the major leagues. And so it's like, you reach the pinnacle of it. So I've seen I'd say one of the bottom leagues of professional baseball. And I mean that respectfully. It's not, like I said, it was a chance. And obviously reaching the absolute peak of all baseball. So it's just an interesting journey. It's an interesting wide range that I've never seen. So
yeah, I mean, so I kind of want to touch on, of course, what that moment was like when you major league debut, but kind of talk about a little bit on how the adversity that you had to go through to really kind of get to that point, and kind of how that developed you as a person outside of the game. Because, like, of course, that adversity is going to help you develop as a baseball player, but how did it kind of shape you to who you are now today?
I mean, it's every experience is a learning experience. I mean, it sounds simple, but like if you can't view it that way, then it gets very frustrating and it beats you down until you don't want to play anymore, until the game's not fun anymore. And so, I mean, just even an affiliate ball, like ignore the independent side of it. Just once you're putting on an affiliate uniform, it's get an opportunity, succeed, go back. Get that opportunity again, succeed, maybe stay a little bit longer, go back. And that just continues from A ball to double A, and you kind of go back and forth. And you go from double A to triple A, and it does that more times. And there are some guys, there's the guys who are just elite talents, the top prospects that everybody knows the names of. It's designed to push you level by level and get you, essentially you're checking off the list of how many at bats or how many innings you need before you're quote unquote big league ready, and then you make it. But for the rest of us, it's like I said, you gotta go up, you gotta succeed, then you go back. You go up, you succeed, you go back. And if you fail, you just keep your head on your shoulders and move forward. And as long as that opportunity is still there, you just keep going. And it takes some special people to do that. I've seen a lot of talented guys not be able to handle that concept. I've seen a lot of guys who aren't very talented make it to the big leagues and have success and having long-term success because they found that talent as they continue to progress. And so it's just, like I said, every experience is a chance to learn, a chance to grow. And so if you can keep that mentality and keep your head on your shoulders, then you can keep going forward. Yeah,
I love that mindset. Kind of take us in, because as you talked about, having all those learning experiences and all those moments that you powered through adversity. Like, what was it like when you finally did get to make that major league debut after thinking about like all that you had to go through, to get there?
Yeah, so I haven't actually, I feel like, said this much, but so I think it was 2018. We finally had my wife come travel with me. Like, she quit her job. She's like, I want to be a part of it. I'm tired of hearing it secondhand. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So in El Paso, you could actually get a pretty cheap apartment that was we had a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom apartment. So it was each bedroom had their own bathroom. And so you kind of had your own little space, and then the kitchen we shared.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me and a couple of my buddies were going to AAA, and we opened the season in AAA. So naturally, my wife comes there, and I get sent down to AA like right after that, like within a week or two.
God.
And so you're trying to figure out what you want to do, blah blah blah. She decided to stay there, and so now she decided to travel with me, and she's now just living in El Paso, and I'm in San Antonio. So it was like, okay, like not ideal, but
Yeah.
we'll get through this. I should be back in AAA at some point in time. But that's just a base story. So in 2019, when I did finally get the call, we weren't in the same apartment. We were in the same apartment complex. My wife and I decided to get an apartment by ourselves this time, but like we were in the living room of that apartment. And so there's just kind of the, I guess, further storyline behind it of like, I had just gotten home from the game. I was about to eat my post-game meal, and the manager calls and says they need a guy in San Diego against Cincinnati in a couple days. Like, are you free? So, it's
Like,
just
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'll do my best to be there. And so like there were moments that like I had to spend by myself and whatnot, but my wife was next to me when I got the call. So then she was also on the flight with me to Cincinnati. Obviously, she was there with my family to watch the game and whatnot. But there's just like little things like that people don't know. People don't necessarily care to know, and some of us don't necessarily like telling the stories. But there's like little full circle things like that just kind of like I said, I hadn't even, when I tell that story, I didn't even think about the fact that it was the same apartment complex that we had to essentially split up in.
Yeah.
And then a year or two later, we were right back in that same apartment complex getting one of the best calls you could ever get as a baseball player. So, just
That's
kind
incredible.
it's just an interesting concept to even try and fathom.
Yeah, and it's like those are the stories you don't ever hear about, like everything that all these guys, including yourself, have to just go through in order to get to that moment in that spot, and all those personal human side stories that really kind of fall in place with it. It's awesome. The last question I always ask guys, because for us, when we started Beyond Baseball, we really wanted to, again, as we've talked about, really give the fans a peek behind them, the human beings behind the numbers. But we also want to have to be a resource for future minor leaguers who might be going through some of the same adversity that you've been going through or trying to make it in professional baseball. So if you had that one piece of advice that you'd have for just a younger guy who's trying to come up and kind of going through some of the same things, what would that be?
I feel like you just keep going.
Yeah.
As long as you still love the game and you have a support system, or if you don't have a support system, you're able to support yourself. But as long as you're able to do it, keep going. There's no reason to stop unless you need to or you have to. I've gotten a chance now that this will be my 10th spring training. So I've met a lot of guys who are in and out of the game, and a lot of guys who either started coaching or they've started going on another job. And every time I see them, I say, hey, so how's life post baseball? And I'm pretty sure 100% of them all said, as long as they're willing to keep a player's jersey on you and you can keep putting spikes on, do it. I don't care where you're at mentally, physically, if for some reason someone's giving you an opportunity, just keep going. And so that's kind of stuck with me because obviously, things get harder. You start seeing the game kind of start surpassing you and whatnot. And, it's getting bigger, faster, stronger than it was before. And so it's, you just kind of keep going, keep pushing. And as long as they're willing to keep you around, then there's a chance. There's always a chance if you're putting on an affiliated jersey to get to the big leagues yes, there's got to be some dominoes that have to fall, but there's a chance. And I always tell people too, I got a chance to go play in the Dominican for 2 off seasons. And it's that was an unbelievable opportunity. Even if I hadn't gotten to the big leagues, it's probably, I'd say, as close as I could get to it.
Yeah.
And I've told everybody who I know, if you love baseball and you don't mind the Latino culture in our clubhouses, to where you can, you would enjoy that.
Yeah.
like go enjoy, like go see what it means to be in a different country and be in a different country where baseball is life. Like everybody is on board, and that's Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican, Mexico, all of them, and just go like that might be your best chance of ever feeling what it's like to be in a game where every single pitch, every single out matters. And some guys pass up on it because they don't want to travel or they got stuff going on in the off season. But like, if it comes up and you have the chance, like, I can promise you're not too tired. Your body's gonna be fine. Like, go play. And if at worst case scenario you're playing in front of different teams when you're down there, and so if it doesn't work out with the team you're on, then maybe somebody else will pick you up afterwards. So there's always an opportunity as long as they're putting a player jersey on you.
Yeah. I interviewed Matt Gage with the Toronto Blue Jays, and he talked about the same thing. He's like, when I was in the Mexico League, he was like, that was the closest. He's like, besides debuting at Rogers Center for the Blue Jays, he was like, Mexico League was like the second best place that he's ever played.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible. I haven't been down to Mexico, but like it was definitely the first experience I had, and I had been part of that El Paso team in 2016 that we won the PCL. It's like you win a AAA championship, and you're like, okay, that's got to be pretty close. And then I went and pitched in the Dominican the year after that, and I was like, oh, this is like when I don't know how many people can fill out those stands, but when you get a packed house there, it's it's literally every single out matters. You either perform and they keep you and they love you, or you fail and they say, hey, here's your money, go home, we'll find somebody who'll do it for you. And that's big league baseball. Like with what they're paying guys now, it's like, do your job or go back. And so it's really the first time you get to see that, like, eat or be eaten. And, it's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible just to hear your journey, and we appreciate you for coming on and just kind of opening up and talking about everything that you've been through. And we wish you nothing but the best going here into the 2023 season, and we'll definitely be following along.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me.